Hey guys, good morning. Welcome to Old Fashioned Bible Baptist Church, where you hear God's Word, where you walk in the faith of the Lord, where you love one another. This message is about what are the tools that children should do, should obey. Children, obey your parents and the Lord, for this is right. Philippians 6. So, children, obey your ch- obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor thy father and thy and mother, which is the first commandments with promise. So if they don't obey the parents, what do you do? I remember I remember when I didn't obey my parents. My mom used a curtain rod, my mom used a she used everything on my butt. Paddle, a wooden paddle. It broke on her. It broke on her first swing. 'Cause my butt was all muscle, but um, and it says in the Bible to discipline the children. It does say in the Bible. If you read more about obeying the children, a paddle is a tool. A wooden paddle is a tool. A spoon is a tool. A switch is a tool. Wooden switch, twig is a tool. If you take a vine, ooh, that hurt in my butt. If you take a vine, a long, sorry guys, that was a truck going by. If you take a long vine to a stick, the vine is about this big. If you take that vine and you have one hand on the vine and you go whoosh, whip your children's butt with it, that is against the law now, but it's not against the law in the olden days. It's not against the law if your children should be punishment for not obeying you, for not obeying the parents. That should not be. I stand in front of a crying baby. I think it was a couple days ago. I stood in front of I stood behind a parent with a crying baby. Mama, I want this. Wah. I'm like, dude, just go out there and punish her. It was a girl, a little tiny girl. I I stood in front of them. Mama, I need this. Mama, please. Please, mama. No, the mom said. You don't need that. And she started crying. And I was about ready to tell her. I was about ready to tell her that do not give in to her crying. Because crying, like, crying. She wanted to drink a soda. And her mom said no. No soda. Once when it cried, she gave in though, but I almost wanted to tell her to not give in because you're trying to train your kid that you don't have the money for another drink. Let's wait until this all adds up. Um, it all adds up because disobeying the children, disciplining the children should be what you have for God. Um, Philippians 6, verse 1. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. So we should obey the parents. If your parents say no out in public, if your parents say no, you should obey your parents. You should obey your parents with which is right. Honor thy father, the father and thy and mother, which is the first commandments with promise, punishments. So, my dad, I remember when my dad first spanked me. He spanked me because my mom loved paddling me. My mom loved doing everything to me without saying, I love you, son, right after. This is what you need to learn. Not to listen to bad music. Grow up. Be like a be like a good husband. Be like a good man. Don't listen to this rock and roll music. And so I grew up, but I didn't want to grow up and listen to Christian music. So every time when my sister listened to the bad music in her car, I started crying because I don't want this music in the car. I started crying and she says, "Shut up, Daniel." I'm like, okay, but all this rock and roll music you don't need in the car. You don't need the devil's music in the car. Now I grew up listening to Christian music, listen to everything that God wants me to listen to because I'm a pastor. And children, Second Chronicles, actually, sorry, Chronicles, Colossians 3:20. Children, obey your parents in all things, for this is well pleasing unto the Lord. So, if your children don't obey your obey you, mom or dad or grandma or grandpa, if they don't obey you, what do you do? Do you discipline the children? Because disciplining the children is what you need to do. The father should discipline the boys. The mother should discipline the girls. Um, So when you discipline the children, you discipline them. So when you discipline, when you discipline, you want to discipline the children, and because paddle, spank them, give them a timeout. Um, when I was when I was a kid, I used to get spanked a lot. Did it hurt me? No. Did it hurt my parents when they spanked? No. It should hurt my parents because they disciplined me in anger. And Father, prove cock not your children to anger less than be disciplined. So when you spank, my mom's bare hand hurted her because she spanked. When she spanked, it was hard, but her hand was hurt. After after that, her hand was hurt. And servants, obey in all things your master according to the flesh, not with eye service servants, not with eyes servants as men pleaser, but in singleness of heart fear God. So when you so when you do that, you don't obey the children. You want the children to obey God and obey you and obey the Father, which is up in heaven. Or obey your children, obey your teachers, which is right on to you. You should obey your Sunday school teachers. You should not give the attitude. You should not give the attitude to the people because to teachers, you shouldn't give the attitude to people that don't obey the parents, that don't obey the fearing God. So, singleness of hearts, fearing God. So, Father, provoke code, not your children to anger. So, you should punishment your children. It's a tool to punish your children. Who does not obey God, who does not obey your parents, who does not obey you, your mom and your dad, if you disobey your parents, if you disobey your law, your rule of your house, if you disobey that, you should get punishment. Punishment is spanking, timeout, and everything else. But God is right there. He should obey. God is the father of your hand. Let's say your hand, if you bend your children over on on your leg and spank your children that needs to be spanked. Nowadays, is children doing a lot of stuff for the parents should not be doing the parents should not be obeying the children. The parents should be obey the parents the children should be obeying the parents because the parents are the law of the rule. They've been through what you have not been through when you're a kid. So when you spank them with love. You don't spank them with anger. Oh, I hate you. Oh, well, you don't spank them like that. You spank them with love and you spank them with kindness. And my mom, she would always love to spank. She would always love to spank me no matter what I did wrong.